did the deed of the tribe of Lot mean in the generation after the Prophet died? Okay, give me an example. What could it be if it's not homosexual sex? What is it?
Could be, for example, could have been
Robbery.
taken from harm, could have been murdered, rape, could have been...
Could have been rape or murder or robbery. That the whole Lut story is abrogated by the coming of Muhammad. That is, the previous laws or rules of other prophets before Muhammad are abrogated. He said Muslims don't follow the law of Moses or the law of Jesus. Why should they follow the law of Lut? You guard your private parts, you guard your sexual organs from contact with people you are not a spouse of. So what's very interesting about this is that it's not sinful because it's two men involved. What's sinful is because they don't have a legal contract. Basically, if the hadith reports fall as an authentic source of knowledge about what the Prophet taught, if the hadith reports come into disrepute or doubt, then the whole basis for the established legal schools and their decisions about issues that affect us, especially about homosexual relations or transgender behaviors, those come into doubt. All of the hadith reports that talk about punishments for homosexual behavior are suspect. When preachers or jurists in the modern times, or Islamic extremists, quote the Sharia and say the Sharia says that people engaged in homosexuality should be killed or stoned to death, you have the right and the obligation and the ability to ask, well, where does that come from? Where in Sharia does it say that? Sharia is not a book, right? It's a whole series of books and interpretations. That said, the whole tradition of Islamic law is really based largely on hadith reports. Yet all of the hadith reports that talk about punishments for homosexual behavior are suspect.
Sort of a moment of epiphany that I had. Number one, when the reference about women who are not desirous of men having access to men's quarters, it shifts the paradigm, because in contemporary Muslim societies, women are responsible for men's desires. That's why they have to shield themselves, right? And here it shifts the paradigm. It doesn't matter how the men react to the women still have that free access. You talked about the hadith not being the word of God, but increasing discourse in fundamentalist circles is that the hadith is as divine as Quran, which I think is sure. What's interesting is that there's also part of the fundamentalist discourse is that LGBT people have not existed in Muslim societies, and yet even the fabricated hadith would then acknowledge that they have existed. My final comment is, it's my belief, when you talked about that there were no hadith that specifically referred to gay or lesbian people by name or that sort of situation, is that we sometimes misconstrue identity with behavior. And the concept of a gay or a lesbian identity is a fairly historically pocketed one, and I think it is a reflection of socioeconomic realities. That if you live in a society where you don't have to worry about what happens to you when you get old, that you don't need children to maintain yourself, that is when you can actually claim a gay or a lesbian identity. Because otherwise, how are you going to be maintained as you get older?
I believe that a lot of discriminations against homosexuality or the misunderstanding comes from people's laziness and not reading actually some of the biblical ancient texts that were originally written.
And I would say it's not a matter of laziness, it's a matter of institutional ignorance.